Julie Gunlock of the Independent Women's
Hello.
Forum is with us.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. So because this is the Conservative Political Action Conference, I believe that school lunches were not being served here.
No, you actually had to pay for your own, make your own meal, pay for your own meal.
But on the plus side, they were edible.
Yeah, they tasted much better. Far better. People could actually eat them. They didn't go directly, you didn't pay for them, and then they went directly into the garbage can.
Yeah. So we got this report. Was this the congressional? What organization was this that just released their big findings on the school lunch program? You don't.
I don't know, Cam. God. Right, well, thanks for the softball there, Cam.
I will find that out.
Yeah.
But so we did just see this this new report. Cameron will look it up for me while we're talking about it. But it showed something like 1 million kids.
Yeah, it's like 1.6 million kids
have stopped eating school lunches. They're
starving.
Yeah.
Or they're taking it from home, or they're buying it and they're throwing it away.
Yeah.
I think this means one thing.
Yeah.
That Michelle Obama wants our children to starve.
Well, it's a way to get them to lose weight. Let's face it, right? I mean, they're not eating. Maybe this was by design. You make the food totally unable to eat the food, and then they lose all this weight.
It'd probably have been cheaper if we just fed them tapeworms.
There's an idea. That's an excellent policy,
right? I mean, really.
That's right. The hosting others to help act of 2015 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Gross. Gross.
Hey, it would have been cheaper, right?
Tapeworms for tomorrow act of I don't know. It would be cheaper. We have that to look forward to, I guess. I think that's actually going to be the dietary supplements under the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
That's you get a tapeworm now.
Awesome.
But at the same time, don't forget that 2 weeks ago, Michelle Obama announced a major expansion of the school lunch program.
Right.
So now, if your child goes to school in a school district where 40% of the kids qualify for free or reduced price meal, all the kids get free breakfast and lunch. You don't even have to demonstrate a need. So no matter what, you get a free breakfast and lunch.
Free. Can we talk about the word free for a sec and how it's not free?
I heard saying once that there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
You know. So what is all this?
Because you must know something about economics, which clearly, these people who are pushing this don't. No, on a serious note, I think it's my big question is, and my dad's a teacher, so I guess understand this from that perspective. So before people freak out and say, I hate teachers and kids. Yeah, I get accused of that sometimes. When did it become the school's responsibility to feed our kids? I mean, isn't it the basic responsibility of, I'm not a parent. You're a parent, you have kids.
I'm a parent, I have 3 boys.
Isn't it your basic responsibility as a parent to feed your children and make sure they have a place to sleep? I mean, isn't that, it's like a very basic thing. Why is it that is now the responsibility of teachers and the school system and the federal government for crying out loud to provide a basic necessity to people's children? Yeah,
and it's not just breakfast and lunch. Now they have dinner. And last year in Congress, 2 Democrats introduced a bill that would have provided school lunches during the holidays, because what child doesn't dream of having Christmas dinner in the school cafeteria? So Can
we get a congressman to introduce a bill providing for midnight snacks?
There's even summer programs.
Right?
I mean there's even summer feeding programs. So that's right. When school is out for the summer, you can. I mean, this really says that our schools are becoming more like cafeterias than educational institutions. And look, this is by design. The Obama administration does not think parents are smart enough to feed their kids to make good, nutritious decisions. They think government officials, the lunch lady and the USDA bureaucrat, is a far better decision maker when it comes to kids' nutrition. So, look, this is bad news for the Obama administration, that 1.6 million kids, but they're fighting back by trying to expand the food program and offering now people just, hey, more free stuff. You don't need to pack your kid a lunch. Just send them to school and they'll be fed there.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You have President Obama last week coming out with Your Brother's Keeper campaign, essentially asking parents to be involved when their policies in the school lunch program specifically goes completely against parental involvement. And on a bigger level, we're double paying here. So the same families who are sending their kids to school for breakfast, lunch, and dinner are the same families who are on food stamps. So we have more people now on food stamps than we've ever had. We're spending more money on food stamps than we ever had. When we try to cut 1% of the food stamp budget, everyone throws a fit. And yet here we are with them getting 3 meals at school, and we're still paying more for the food stamps. So why is it that where is the balance there?
Right, and what's the most depressing part of this is that, and not to get too wonky policy here, but the studies on childhood obesity, they all point to the same thing, that the way in which you get kids to eat nutritiously and develop good nutrition habits is you strengthen the role of parents. You get parents involved, whether it's sitting down to dinner or packing them a lunch. I mean, this matters to kids. Kim and I talk about this all the time. These little things matter to kids. I'm a mom, and I understand. Like, my kids kind of like it when they see what I've packed for them. And unfortunately, we have a very popular First Lady who spends very little time talking about, like you said, the basic role of parents to feed your kids. There's nothing more basic than that.
But as you say, you think that's by design, because if you wonder how it is that this happened, and somewhere a bureaucrat decided, well, there's a need for this, right? And if you offer free stuff to people, there's going to be a certain number of people who will take this, who will accept this, who will say, oh, this is fantastic. You look at the social cost, though, as you say, of making it easier to opt out of being a parent.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's opting out of your parental responsibilities.
It is.
Now, look, the government has allowed you to do so very easily. What the consequences of that are going to be, are going to vary from child to child. Maybe there are no negative consequences. Maybe the kid loves school lunch. Right. Maybe the kid doesn't. Maybe the kid stops eating. Maybe he throws it away, goes home, starts picking out on the junk food that the parents are buying. Maybe the parents don't buy any junk food.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the kid gets rickets. I don't know. Maybe the kid gets scurvy. But, at some point, you as the parent still have to step in. You can't avoid these responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right. You can't.
And again, you can't. But again, the other announcement, in addition to expanding the school lunch program, she made was banning the advertising of any food products in schools. And so you have what was so galling to me is that you
can't even look at food.
And Coke won't be able to have the scoreboards.
What they seem to forget is that below the scoreboard with the Coca-Cola are kids actually exercising. I mean, Coke is not actually sponsoring sit on your couch and play Wii and eat Cheetos tournaments.
Right.
They're actually sponsoring things that are healthy. And so, we take these things out of the schools. Schools rely on this sponsorship for their sports programs. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to see is, because of this, this so-called, going to protect kids from scary Coke ads, they're actually going to lose some sports programs. Mm-hmm. Which is going to make kids go home and sit on their couches more. I mean, this is the kinds of consequences of these, sort of nanny state.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's frustrating because they're taking the free market out of it by coming down on these companies as if there's some evil bad thing, as if we didn't have Coca-Cola in the 1950s. As if Coke hasn't been around since then. And second, you talked about the consequences will vary from child to child, but the biggest consequence of all of this, which is by design, is more reliance on government. Let's be real. These are government schools. Public schools are government schools. When you take the parents out of the lunch situation, the food situation, they're relying on the government school to provide a basic necessity. So then they think when they grow up that they can't function without some big overbearing bureaucracy giving them what they need.
Exactly.
And it also allows the parents to depend more on the government, whether it's from home or whether it's from their kids at school.
Yeah,
and that is the bigger, broader problem, which ultimately has a huge impact on the way that we pay our taxes in this country.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the, again, I look at what's going on in the schools where you've got kids being suspended for the finger guns.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You saw the story out of St. Paul, right, where the school district made this 14-year-old girl stand outside in the frigid, below
she was
freezing.
Wet.
Right. She was in the pool, and there was a fire drill, and so they made her get out of the pool and stand outside.
During a fire drill.
Yes.
Wait, let me repeat that. They made her get out of the
water.
pool for a fire drill. Okay.
And they made
her. Just got to make clear.
And they made her stand outside in her bathing suit. This is in St. Paul, Minnesota, last week, where it was below freezing.
Yeah.
She got frostbite. They wouldn't allow her. They wouldn't allow her to sit in a car, in a teacher's car,
or in the pool,
or go back into the pool.
Yeah.
Because it was against the policies of the school. So they made her stand out there. There were other students who, gave up some of their clothing to try to wrap her up so she'd be okay. But this was the insistence, again, on following the rules. So, when you have educators acting like uneducated jackasses, I don't know that I can trust these folks I don't know that I could. I don't know that I would want to trust these folks to feed my children.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know that I
yeah.
trust them to teach my children. I don't know that I trust them to babysit my
Right.
children, even if that's what I expected school to be, just babysitting for
Yeah.
a few hours while I go to work.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're up to that task.
Yeah, yeah.
But clearly, I mean, we've seen
And not
instance
again,
after
not because
instance.
this is not anti-teacher, by the
No,
way. I'm not
it's-
saying anything about the teachers, but I'm talking about the bureaucracy and the
policy.
policies and the rules.
Because if the teacher doesn't follow the policy, the teacher gets in trouble.
Right.
So that's the problem. It's the policy. It's these idiotic, one-size-fits-all policies. So if you're in a bathing suit, this one-size-fits-all policy of a fire drill applies to you even when it's -10 out.
But
you
it's
know?
also just a loss of common sense all around, from the kid who nibbled a Pop-Tart or held his finger out as a gun shape. I mean, even you had this case in North Carolina a couple years ago of a little girl coming to school with a turkey sandwich and a banana and a bag of chips, and that lunch being tossed, and she being seated at the table with chicken nuggets and French fries because it met the nutrition standards, some sort of overzealous lunch lady. I mean, the lack of common sense. I mean, at some point, a grown-up was in charge at this point. Like, she made that decision to actually toss that little girl's lunch and put down it's insane. I think a lot for sort of reasonable people, the decisions across the board, it's not just in the fire drills, but in school
Right.
lunches, it's just the lack of common sense in these decisions is really a problem.
Which again, I think gets back to that point that we always try to hammer is that, as parents, you got to get involved. You have to do the opposite of what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Because what they want you to do is be apathetic and just let the schools handle everything. What you actually have to do is to say, nah, we're going to do things differently. I'm not going to play by those rules. I'm going to go to the PTA meeting. I'm going to go to the school board meeting. I'm actually going to read the minutes. I'm going to get involved here so I can ask intelligent questions. And I'm going to make
Absolutely.
you defend these
Yeah.
indefensible positions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and part of the reason for the expansion of the school lunch program, Michelle Obama said we want to get rid of the stigma. So we're going to make everyone eat a school lunch, right? Want to get rid of, what used to be, what people used to do about kids picking on other kids? Teach them manners. Like, parents are supposed to tell kids, don't be mean to other kids. But instead now we have a government program expanding it so no one's different and
Hey,
there's no stigma.
Can I just go on a rant for a while about bullying?
Well, are you going to mention
let's
the
do.
Ninth Circuit decision?
You mentioned that, and then I'll go into my rant about
Well,
bullying.
I was just going to say that, no, we have the the heckler's veto now. We've been told in California that the kids wearing the American flag shirts, they're going to take them off because, the other kids are threatening to beat them up. And
Right.
so all of a sudden the flag shirt's a disruption. Not the kids threatening to beat up the other students.
Right.
It's
right?
ridiculous.
So backwards.
So
let's
yes,
go. Let's
rant
go.
away.
So we've also seen, much like the school lunch issues, these big campaigns, anti-bullying campaigns. And we're
Yeah.
talking about zero tolerance policies here. Their liberal policies in schools against bullying have created more bullies
Right,
as a
right.
result of their policy, because they punish the kids who stand by, who are even at the fight. Those kids get suspended. If you dare punch a bully back, you're getting expelled or suspended.
Yep.
And so the bully doesn't care if
Right.
they're going to get expelled or suspended from school. So what does that create? It creates an environment that no matter what the bully does, they're never actually going to be held accountable
Right.
for those consequences.
Yep.
And real quickly, once that's over, you talked about going to these PTA meetings. Teachers and school board members need to remember they work for parents. They're
Yeah.
the employees of the parents, and that's something that they should be reminded of.
Absolutely.
Yeah,